Hashtag Talk Thursday right here on EKSE Live DSTV channel 263, and today we are talking about everything that has to do with the peer pressure. So we want to know, how has peer pressure affected you as a young person, as an adult, or even as just someone who's trying to navigate their way throughout the society? And our social media question for the day is, what is the worst thing that you have done because of a peer pressure? Let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know what your experiences are. Our social media platforms, it's EKSE Live across Facebook, Instagram, and of course Twitter. Let us know. We'll see my experiences. We would love to hear from you guys. But over Manje, we head over to Usibo and Lauren and continue the conversation.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who've just joined us, we are talking all things peer pressure.
Yes.
Now, when I think of the word peer pressure, I definitely think of teenagers first.
True.
But very interestingly enough, you guys brought up earlier that, it can really touch on people of all ages.
Yes.
So my first question to our wonderful guests, some of whom joined us earlier, is how can, and we've joined by Sia as well, a third guest, how can you differentiate between advice and being influenced?
Yes.
Negatively, should we say. So feeling that pressure and then versus that advice. How do we tell the difference?
I think I'll take that one. I think the difference between advice and being influenced by something is the advice is something that is given because it's been asked of you. I mean, not necessarily because I've verbally come to you and said, okay, I'm kind of having a problem. Can you help me out with that? What do you think? It's more of like you saying something and not expecting me to actually do it, or not expecting me to do it. You're just giving me this kind of like sage kind of advice, you could say, that I can use just to kind of give you a different perspective from a decision that you probably wouldn't have necessarily made.
Yeah.
Whereas influence, on the one hand, is kind of making me feel bad for not doing what you're telling me to do. In my opinion, I think that would be the difference between the two. I mean, in being influential on someone is kind of making them feel like, okay, if you don't do what I just said, you are nothing.
Yes.
Sometimes it's about your gut, right?
Yeah.
It's listening to the gut. I feel like people's advice, it might be great advice, but it makes you uncomfortable, versus when it's peer pressure, it's not just about uncomfortable, something feels wrong.
Yeah. I think because sometimes it tends to go where we don't really like people telling us what to do and how to behave. But for you, Siam Tanda, I want to ask, when it comes to peer pressure, is there a way that we can actually get to avoid it?
Yeah, I think so. You can avoid the peer pressure by actually avoiding the people that have bad things to say about you.
Yeah.
You should just like move away from them, avoid them and stuff like that. So I think you can avoid it by that.
Hey, how do you move? But if people are...
Just to add on, Sia, it is just knowing yourself.
Yes,
That
very
is
true.
that is very important. Knowing yourself and understanding yourself. It's not easy to be pressured to do something if you actually know and understand the core of your being as a person. That's very important.
That's so true. I think that's why people think peer pressure in teenagers, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Because teenagers, we don't know ourselves when we're teenagers as much as we like to think we do. What sort of personal qualities can help people resist negative peer pressure, do you guys think?
Negative peer pressure.
I think negative peer pressure is something that you're always going to come in contact with. It's regardless, like no matter where you go, no matter who you speak to, come in contact with, negative peer pressure will always be there. But I think sometimes it's like you said before, it's listening to that gut, that little voice. Like there's been moments, I think everybody's kind of had that experience where you've ignored that voice on the inside, and then you go there and then you go against it. I'm like, I got this, like I can do this. And then something happens and you're like, if only I'd listened to that voice. That feeling of kind of, because when you don't listen to that voice, in a way, you kind of like putting yourself down. You're letting yourself down. Whereas I think the main thing is you need to be strong-minded, strong in character and resilient against what those outside forces are forcing you to do. It's hard, but the road to becoming a better person is never easy.
Okay, speaking about resilience, I want to ask with you guys, have you ever given into peer pressure?
I think
Any
we
tough
all have.
examples?
We're all guilty.
Yes.
Everybody's eyes just went down. Everybody was like, yep.
I think for me, it was as the lady that you were showing on the insert said, it was trying out cigarettes. And it's like, nah, this thing is not for me, so I might as well just, I'm done. Thank you. So that was the last, that was first and the last time. I don't easily get influenced by these things. So that was the only thing that I can remember to the top of my head.
Okay.
Well, for me, I tried cheating in an exam.
Oh, okay.
But-
What grade?
Don't take me back
What
to
grade?
high school, please. I tried cheating, man. We used to have these small papers in high school.
Ikaka.
Yeah, we used to call it umpago. So I had that, but I never used it because I was sitting next to a cute boy. So I was like, okay, no, please don't do it. So
Cute boy saved you
yeah,
from cheating.
saved me. So yeah,
You know, it's interesting. You were mentioning cigarette smoking, and I think it's, especially when you're younger, it's got so much to do with exposure.
Yes.
Like for me, both my parents are smokers, so it was never this like weird, magical, forbidden thing. I was like, ah, whatever, it's boring. Like it smells bad, you know. And I think when people aren't exposed to it, then you kind of feel more curious about it, right?
Sure.
It's one of those tricky things.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to things like that, especially when you're young, I think I can't speak for anyone else, but I mean, from my upbringing, there was a lot of like, when you ask and you question things as a child, you would always get that feeling of, no, just don't do it. No, just don't do it. Like these things were never explained or unpacked as to why this thing is
Explain
bad.
being the key
why you
word,
should
right?
not do this thing. So that curiosity of always having things just blanketed off and not being told why something is wrong kind of really pushes you in that direction. So I mean, those are the reasons where, like, when you're younger, you're just more susceptible to it because you're curious
We
in nature.
unfortunately have to cut you guys off, but folks, our absolutely phenomenal guests have really just shared some insight there. Thank you so much for joining us. You guys have shared some really good words of wisdom. Right now, we have the very, very beloved Avumile Majola in the house. I absolutely love it, and we've got the gorgeous Michlali as well. So let's head on over to them and find out what's this fashion talk all about.